Well, one of the things that I admire about you, and then we'll get back to this stuff, is you always, I think people discount your intelligence and your commitment to things because of how fast you move into things and move out of things. I was with you in 2018, I think it was the first few months of the year when you were like, I bought this building 2 years ago because I wanted to do this, this, and this. And then all of that happened. You tried urban movement as a license. And then when you saw, okay, this isn't going to work the way I wanted to, you just punted on it. And then you went into this gym real estate thing. And it's not like, I think that it's possible for somebody to be like, oh, Stu just thinks he knows about real estate because he built a building and then rented it. But no, there's a $30,000 subscription to this company. There's $10,000 in mentorship. There's going to meetups of learning, and you genuinely make yourself an all-in version of this thing.
Yeah, and I would argue, find me one other person. There's only actually one other person. His name's Adam Pennington. He is the head of commercial real estate for Exponential Fitness. Mm-hmm. So I go out to Chicago. I meet with Adam Pennington. He literally is looking at 35 leases for all the brands of Exponential every single month. Right. And I realize that I don't know shit about fuck compared to guys like him who've been doing this for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I am fucking the Albert Einstein compared to the gym owner who's going to simply select a site. Well, I can afford that. And it's kind of by a Whole Foods. So that's got to be pretty good, right?
Well, by the way, to add credibility to that, I consider myself more educated on these topics than most gym owners because I've now opened my fourth brick and mortar location. I've gone through hurricanes and learned about insurance. I've gone through build outs from a shell. I found one of these places through a realtor. I found all the other places through door knocking. I've convinced landlords to rent me their space for a term that allowed me to get set up to open. I've done a lot of the shit. I have no idea how to do the things that I refer gym owners we work with to you because that's what you've invested your entire time and financials into.
Yeah. And I started doing consulting in 2015 and every person I worked with, I worked with them for over 2 years. We're coming up on a lease renewal or we're looking at a second location. I mean, I've been looking at leases since 2015 other than my own and informally and be like, whoa, why don't we have a specific decibel clause on here? This, that, and the other thing. And yeah, right of first refusal, but we need to set it. Are we going that off CPI? Or are we doing it off, a preset number? Like where are we going with this? So there's all of that, but and it's just the other thing too, is I've had the opportunity, I think in the pivoting and looking at that, it's always been things that I just were so adjacent to what I did prior. Like I got very lucky being able to luck and hard work to buy that building, right? I got the last, just over $1 million building that side of Charlotte. You can't get anything, I got very lucky with the timing and all that.
Well, hold on. You did. But people will hear that and be like, oh, you also had $1 million. You didn't have $1 million.
I did not. No, I did not. No, you don't need $1 million. You need 10% of whatever you think the building is going to cost and go do a smart SBA loan. And then you only actually need 5% when you partner with somebody, because commercial real estate partnerships are the smartest ones because there's nothing to argue about compared to having a partnership in your gym.
The only thing I can see that you would end up arguing about is, do we want to rent this or do we want to sell this?
Yes. And that's why when I carve these out, these partnership agreements for holdcos, real estate holdings companies, we come up with, we've got to have guardrails that protect, like Mr. Gym Owner, you got to tell me, I know you say you want to do this for 10 years. However, you're wearing a building owner hat right now. Mm-hmm. And so is your partner who put up a lot of money to do this with you. What's your number right now? If someone came and offered it to you for lease, they wanted to lease the building or they wanted to buy it, what is your go, no-go number? And you have to make that decision. I have to do it now? Yes, you have to do it now because there's a lot of fucking money going into this.
Do you do that as a raw number or do you do that as an aggregate of, for example, a percentage of EBITDA?
No, that would be, it's a number that's in there that would trigger the vote of a seller to lease. So that's all it is. So like if you and me went and bought a building, Active Life's in it, and I'm coming in cash, you're putting up cash, we're doing an equal amount, but we own the building that Active Life is in. And I'm like, all right, Sean, I know you love Active Life. However, right now our mortgage is $10,000. Mm-hmm. If somebody offers us a lease which means that we would bring home 40, 20 a piece, would you consider no longer doing Active Life at that point? And we'd have to have an honest conversation. Would you be comfortable then? Let's say you're like, oh yeah, now if I could just make $20,000 a month passively, Yes, Stu. Okay, at that point, we put that in the partnership agreement. That number of being offered that amount, that triggers a vote. Okay. Same thing with the sale. At what sales price, knowing we're going to split this 50-50, would you need? Would you need to walk away with this with 2 million, 3 million? What's the number?
Well, what do you do with the vote though if it's 50-50? And I say no.
So most partnerships all have this in there. There's a mediator. So you either select the law firm that writes your partnership agreement. You could hire a separate third party mediator, and you can go ahead and vote. We're 50-50. You bring a mediator in, and then you could go ahead and then have a mediator help negotiate this issue.
I see. So it could be like, we're not going to sell the building, but I will increase the rent by $5,000 a month above what it should be, and I get extra ownership.
Yeah, all these triggers are just meant to bring it up so like, hey, if this offer comes, we've already discussed this at the beginning when we were signing this partnership agreement before we even moved into the building. This is a number in which we have to have a conversation. Each partner has a right at that point to say, hey, let's let this building realize its actual economic value, because the gym being in it is not at some point that will not be the highest economic engine behind that, as a tenant.